Hello guys, today we have here a Alfa 156 with a 1.9 JTD 8-valve engine. Customer states the engine stopped running when the car was on the road. So the customer was driving along with suddenly the engine quit. And then after about an hour that the car was stopped, it was able to be started again. Okay, every time you heat up the engine it quits, and then when you wait for about an hour it is able again to start the car and run. Okay, so today I will show you how to do the diagnosis and also how to do the repair. So the car now is cold, about 1 day stopped. It should start and you have to drive it until you have the same symptom. By the way, the immobilizer is correct, so it turns on and off, which means that it recognizes the key. So the car runs, and what you want to do is to take your diagnosis machine with you on the road and see when it stops running what is missing on the parameters. So things that you want to see on parameters are RPM, engine RPM, fuel pressure, mass airflow, because sometimes on these engines, if you have an intercooler pipe or an intake pipe that disconnects itself or ruptures or something, if you do not have mass airflow being measured, the car will not start. Okay, the fuel pump over here is not active right now, but if I switch on and off the key, it will go to active. The starting of the engine, it is allowed, and the control unit, it is programmed. So let's start with the basics. Let's see here RPM. Remember that this number over here, it takes a bit of 3, 4, 5 seconds to appear if it is working. Okay, so let's do about 6, 7, 8 seconds of starting and see if something appears here on the RPM, on the first value. Take a peek also here on the fuel pressure. It has to create a bit of that. So, but firstly the RPM. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds, nothing. Okay, so let's start here with the RPM. So this lower sensor over here, it's the one that reads the engine speed of the crankshaft. It is this sensor over here that from time to time does this exact symptom. This car, being 22 years old, already had one of these replaced about 10-12 years ago. It is time to put a new and original one again. The access is not all that easy, but I have here two engines that may be easier to explain you how it works. So we have here on this area the starter, and below the starter over here you have the cavity for the sensor. Remember that we have here a O-ring. Okay, and then the plug goes to this side over here near the alternator. Okay, so just follow the path of the wire and connect here this connector. Right behind here the alternator. This is for the twin spark one. This is a twin spark block, and I have here a JTD engine block, exactly the same as the one that is on this car, and it is exactly the same position. And also here you will have here the connector right alongside behind of the alternator. I hope you can see here beneath the starter the sensor, and then it goes to that clip over here on the dipstick tube, and then goes here through this other plastic part over there, that plastic clip, and goes behind there the alternator, and finally connects to the plug, the connector itself. So there on the car, basically what you have is this. Okay, you have here the sensor connected to the block. In the meantime, you have here the dipstick tube connecting here also this piece of the sensor, and then you have this bracket over here. The best way to do it is to remove it from the car and work with it outside. In this way you can pass through the cable and you can connect here, you can install properly here this tip of the connector. New sensor is in place, only the screw left to go. So it's all original. The path of the cable is all completely original. The removal of the bracket is the best thing that you can do in order to do this job, okay, to be properly secure in all aspects. And just start the car again and see when it gets really hot if it has the same symptom or not. What about the fault codes? Normally these kinds of issues does not throw a fault code, or maybe it can throw but not related to RPM. Sometimes what happens is in this car here that because we do not have any signal for the RPM, the high pressure fuel pump will not open because it does not have to, he thinks. So you can have problems with fuel pressure and whatnot, but always focus on the main things, okay? Main thing is RPM. In about 12 or 10 more years I will have this same issue with this car, okay? Because these sensors are just the way they are, okay? And they will fail after 10 to 12 years. If you are running a aftermarket one, it may last more or less, normally way less, but it is just the way it is. So after a very long drive, the car is perfect, so no issues here to be reported on this car. Down on the description there is a lot of information that can and will be useful for you regarding all things crank no start, brakes, lack of power, suspension work, all that stuff, okay? Also down on the description links for the helps for the channel if you are able to do so. See you next time, guys. Bye.